logistics behind what you have to do. I mean, it takes time to research your content, do all the technical things that we haven't even touched on, actually write the content, then distribute it. So because of that, some people take advantage of that, and they'll get clients locked into year-long contracts. And there's nothing wrong with a year-long contract, because you do want to mentally commit to at least that length of time for your first year. And then after that, you can maybe revisit your campaign quarterly. But some people present that year differently. Instead of educating them and saying, hey, we mentally commit to a year because that's how long it takes to do it right, instead they're just locking them in so they can take their money and run, and then they don't really care about what they're doing because they have a contract. So the questions will help you better understand, okay, now that I know that a year isn't the bad guy, but the people that are pitching the year, they may be the bad guy, so how do I qualify those? And so it talks about questions to ask to make sure to identify SEO agencies that can actually drive results, but most importantly, what you're looking for is transparency. So anytime you ask somebody, well, how are you going to get me on the top of Google, and they dodge the question, or they say it's proprietary, or they give a vague answer, that's a bad sign, because that may mean it's just a sales guy and he doesn't have your best interest in mind, or they really don't know what they're doing. So there's just a lot of questions that are pretty straightforward questions. They're not technical or complicated, that will help you make sure that you're going to invest with the right person.
And I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit because I've got so many questions to ask you, and I'm not sure we're going to get them all in time. We're going to have you back again there, Damon, for another podcast. You have this wonderful company, and where do you see your company in the future? Because there's lots of web building services that are developing more user-friendly SEO built-in apps. But you, as you said, it's for the long term. Are these apps just sort of like to get you started when you're building a website?
Yeah, there's no way you can automate ongoing effective SEO. So what these apps will do is help you with kind of phase one. So earlier we briefly talked about how SEO kind of falls into two categories. One is what you do on your website, and then two is what you do externally to your website.
Yeah.
So there are builder tools and apps that can help you with that first category, that makes sure your website loads quickly, that makes sure it's mobile friendly. Those are largely structure things, but apps can't tap into your buyer's intent. They can't align a personality with content. There's certainly tools that can help you research content ideas, and there are other tools that can help you, format the grammar and spelling of your content, but they can't bring your expertise to the table. So there's SEO, doing SEO the right way through some sort of qualified person or agency or content strategy, that's not going to be going away anywhere. You can't artificially, through AI, you can't reproduce what the human mind can do.
Yeah, that's good point. Well, when we try to brand ourselves, so you are the brand. Do we try too hard sometimes? And how should we be thinking when we're compiling content for our sites? I mean, that's a pretty loaded question, I suppose.
No, it's a great question. So, yeah, people overthink. I call it social proof. So where you're kind of building that brand awareness, and this is a great opportunity for, as you mentioned, yoga studios, because the world of health and fitness and yoga, you build these personal, intimate relationships with your clients and your customers, and people want to buy from people they trust. Me as an agency, I have a team of 20, and SEO National does the fulfillment, but people buy because of the relationship with Damon. And so they probably even more so with your type of listeners, industries. And so when you get online, when you do social media, when you're building the brand awareness, you have to have a public face to that. Now, if you go look at my LinkedIn and my Facebook, those are the main areas that my audience is. And so for your listeners, it may be TikTok and Instagram. And so you want to focus where your audience is and don't dilute yourself across too many channels. Become really good at one and then learn from there, and then maybe go to two, but don't feel like you need to go to all the platforms. I will probably never, ever be on TikTok because my audience isn't there, and even if they were, I don't want to be the dancing SEO guy. And so you have to figure out where your audience is and then be transparent with them. And I hate to use the cliche word about being authentic, but it really is true.
Right.
If you go look at my posts on LinkedIn, I mean, yesterday's post is a perfect example. So you saying people overthink things, you don't have to be the perfectly polished person on social media. My post yesterday was, my team screwed up. I accepted ownership, and as a result, we now have a better relationship with that client because I accepted the mistake. And so I get on there, and people want to do business with people they trust. And so if somebody can see that Damon is willing to admit fault and correct course without blaming his team, even though Damon had nothing to do with it, then that's somebody that people can trust. And so you want to get on and showcase your expertise without the pukey sales pitch. If you look at all my posts, almost never do I have a call to action. Instead, a lot of people you see get on there and they say, my thing's awesome, go here to buy it. My thing's awesome, sign up for my email list. My thing's awesome, go take this other action. So what I do is I get on and I say, here's a problem that you might have, here's the answer. Here's a pain point, here's the solution. And then I showcase my expertise. So I don't live in my private messages. I don't live in my DMs, a lot of people call it. I want to expose people to my content and my expertise. And then when they're ready to buy that thing, then I will be top of mind. And then they already trust me. The sales walls come down. And the majority of the time that people reach out to me, the discussion is, here's my money, instead of, what do you do? How do you do it? Are you good at it? And, all the qualifying questions that you usually have to go through.
Yeah. It's interesting because I was looking at somebody's site and I went on and the person had something like, I don't know, I didn't realize there was so many social media platforms. I think this person had them all. So I think what you're saying is you have to target your audience, right? And figure out where you can make the biggest impact, right? As well.
Yeah, that's part of it. But then, as you said, it's about branding. So my comment on TikTok, I don't want to be a dancing SEO guy, and that's part of my brand that I don't want. Right. And so you have to be strategic about how you want to represent yourself. I would say where your audience is definitely, the more important consideration. But then, even if my audience was on TikTok, I don't want to dance.
Although you could if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to and that's your thing, then do it. But don't feel like you need to do what's not your thing.
Yeah. With your busy life and your family and spending time with your family and working, do you have a favorite fitness activity just to keep things balanced?
No, I go in cycles. Like, I am horrible. I'm not horrible, but I'm not. So I kind of look at my life like I do with SEO because, and I've kind of realized this just in the last year or so that, when we have a marketing campaign, like I said, there's two categories. And so first category is fixing the structure of your site. And so then I compare that to my life and I'm like, okay, I need to come up with a core structure, which would be like a schedule. And then after that, you get into the reoccurring part of SEO. And then I go, okay, after that, then I get into the reoccurring part of fitness and health. And so I developed an autoimmune condition a couple of years ago. So before that, I was totally locked in on a schedule. But ever since I got that condition, it's been really hard for me to get back in a groove. And I'm getting closer. I've adjusted as much as I can as far as is realistic with the condition I have. And so now I'm getting back to aiming for a morning routine and this and that. So no, I don't have a good routine yet, but I have a good excuse why, and I'm coming full circle here shortly.
Yeah, it's because you're pretty demanding. I mean, in all the things you do, and you also have a podcast yourself, or you've had a couple, but the one that you have right now is that something that you do weekly, or is that something that you work on every once in a while, the learningfromothers.com podcast?
A little bit of both. So it airs weekly, but I'll record it intermittently. So I kind of batch them. Sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 weeks. Other weeks I'll have none. And then I record them out, and I have an editor take care of the post-production. And so that's kind of just been a fun project. And I started podcasting because, see, I'm almost 2 years into it now. I have 100 and something episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started it, it was originally because I have this great Rolodex of successful entrepreneurs and friends, and I thought these guys could bring some good experience to an audience. And when I finally said I need to either do it or stop thinking about it, and so I started recording it intermittently, and I didn't air any of them though, because I wanted to create a backlog. So if I chose to proceed, then I would have a catalog ready. And so I recorded 10 or 20 of them, and then I finally said, okay, this is a fun process. Let's start airing these. And then I started reaching out and getting more guests lined up. And what's made me stick to it is it's just a fun process. You meet new people, you hear great stories. I don't have an agenda for it. I need one. I need a focus, but I don't have one just because I've enjoyed the process. I've enjoyed the stories. I've met some great people.
Oh, and you do meet great people. You do meet some great people. Like I met you, and I'm so grateful for what you do. Thank you so much, Damon. Thank you for being so generous with your time, and for really putting, people first and businesses first. And if you would like more information about Damon Burton, you can visit his website, DAMONBURTON.com. He's on Facebook too at damon.burton. Many thanks again, Damon, for being with us today on Yin Yoga Lifestyle. We're so appreciative of you coming on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with your audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so if you have, and please, if you go to Damon's site, tap into his book, Outrank. It's a wealth of information, especially for all you new and existing business owners out there who are going online, especially. And please don't forget to subscribe to YinYogaLifestyle.com, and where you can find free Yin Yoga videos, and you can join Zoom online Yin Yoga classes and receive your first class for free. Please, let's just get you started on your daily Yin Yoga routine. It's that easy. And thank you again, Damon, for being here. We really appreciate it. And thank you, listeners, for joining Yin Yoga Lifestyle, adding enlightenment, calm, balance, and creativity to your everyday life. I am your host, Colette Darville. Join us next time to continue our journey of balancing into a state of perfect harmony. Until then, this is Colette Darville, reminding you to inhale, sow, and exhale, hum.